Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course, Statistics 101, Introduction to Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video shows how to make and use frequency polygons. Let's get started. The frequency polygons are essentially histograms, but using lines instead of bars. The lines connect what would be the tops of the bars if they were there. We've got two examples here. Now, in the first example, we've got weight versus the number of people. And so you've got different bars here for the different weights categories, and then we just take the center point of the top of each of those bars and connect them with a line. Okay, so that curve there on your plot, that's your frequency polygon. Now you can make a relative frequency polygon that uses relative frequency instead of counts, and just as we've seen with other graph types, you're going to get the same basic shape with your graph. Here in our second example, we have frequency counts of test scores. Now, how many people scored a particular test score on a given test? Well, we just basically connect the dots made from the midpoints of the tops of the bars of a histogram. Now, keep in mind, the marker labels you see below the x-axis correspond to the midpoint of the categories there. So the graph is not telling you, for example, that 10 students scored a 64.5 on their test. But rather, there were 10 students who scored between 60 and 69 on their test. Okay, so there were 10 students who got a D. Now, there's one more item to keep in mind. Notice here we have a beginning and an end point at zero frequency. This is a conventional practice when making frequency polygons. So keep this in mind when you make your frequency polygons for your MyMathLab assignments. The quote-unquote correct frequency polygon will likely follow this convention. Now, you can make frequency polygons in StatCrunch, but it is a little involved. So let's watch a short video demonstration of how to do that for the heights of elected U.S. presidents using the POTUS data file in our StatCrunch group. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're here in the POTUS data file, and we're going to make a frequency polygon out of the heights of elected U.S. presidents. This is a little bit of a, what I would call a convoluted process. It's not as straightforward as many of the other graphs that we've made up to this point. So pay attention, because there's a few details that you need to have in the proper sequence in order for this to turn out the way it should. First, what we need to do is we need to actually make a summary table here in the worksheet, because in order to get the frequency polygon out, you have to have the summary table. It's just the way StatCrunch is set up. So the first thing we have to do is get that summary table. And the easiest way to do that is to just make a histogram with the counts for the frequencies of each of the columns at the tops of the bars. So that's what I'm going to do. Go to Graph, Histogram. Here's the heights data that I want to look at. And then I want to make sure I select this value above bar. Go ahead and hit compute, and here's my histogram. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and use these two next columns to make my frequency distribution table. So here I'm going to call this height categories. I'm going to call this frequency. Okay, remember with the frequency polygon, the convention is to have the first and the last point to be 0. So I'm going to go one category out from what's being shown here on this histogram. So each of these bars looks like there's a bin width of 5, because this is 160, this is 170, so halfway in between must be 165. So this bin right out here that's not being shown must be 155 to 159, then 160 to 164. Remember, this 160 means that the 160 belongs to this column here to the right of the 160. 65 to 169, 170 to 174, 175 to 179, 180 to 184, 185 to 189, and 190 to 194. And then we have the one that's not being shown, 195 to 199. So this first column here, 155 to 159, is not shown because there's nothing there. So we'll put 0 in for the frequency. And then I just read the tops of the bars here. So 1, 2, then the next one here is 8, then 6, 11, 8, 2, and then 0 for the last one that's not being shown here. Okay, so now I've got my frequency distribution table. Now I'm ready to make my frequency polygon. To do that, I go to Graph, Chart, Columns. I'm going to select the column that I want to select is the frequency. The row labels are the categories. And plot, I want to plot the points with connected lines. Okay, that should do it for me. And lo and behold, it does. There's my frequency polygon. Notice how it has the same basic pattern if you were to connect the dots from the tops of your histogram. So there it is. I know it's a little convoluted, but I hope that helps. Okay, as you can see, the process is a little involved, and for that reason, I couldn't summarize it all on one screen. So here I'm going to present it to you in 2 parts. So if you prefer this as a guide to the video we just saw, pause the video, take your screenshot, and use this guide to help you construct your frequency polygon. So here's the first part, and then here's the second part of the summary. Again, you can go ahead and pause the video if you want, make your screenshot, and use that as a guide. And that pretty much brings us to the end of this mini lecture. So I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Howdy peeps, I'm Professor Curtis of Aspire Mountain Academy, and I hope you enjoyed this free sample mini lecture from my Stat 101 course. This is a course that I worked really hard to develop. It's taken me a while to get through it, and I hope you enjoyed this free lecture. If you want more like this, then you need to sign up for my Stats 101 course. So go to the link there in the description down below the video. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video.